In the 70s and 80s, Linda Ronstadt earned her title as the Queen of Pop, and every single song she released was proof that she was indeed a gifted singer. But just like many other stars who have left their footprints in the sands of time, there were some aspects of her life that were not publicized. From making unconventional choices to breaking away from Hollywood labels and retiring unexpectedly, Linda Ronstadt's life has truly been one hell of a ride. She is currently in her 70s, rocking her white hair, and we can't help but delve into her past. Early exposure to music. Decades before the spotlight shone on her, Linda spent most of her days training, learning, and preparing for the day when the world would clamor to hear her sing. It's no secret that Linda Ronstadt's father, Gilbert, played a significant role in her success as a musician, but very few people know the sacrifices he made to instill the dream of becoming a renowned musician in her heart. Linda was still very young when her father began to notice that she could grow up to become a phenomenal musician. When it came to making melodies, he was her first example. Gilbert was known to have spent a good number of years entertaining people in Arizona and Mexico, in theaters and on radios. As an entertainer who had already walked the path, he ensured that Linda was exposed to people in the industry who would not only inspire her, but also show her the ropes in the industry. He went as far as introducing her to the likes of Peggy Lee, the Beach Boys, and Billie Holiday, and she never failed to immerse herself in good music. By the time she became a teenager, she was so immersed in music that she and her siblings formed a trio in high school. It seemed like there were a series of melodies and harmonies waiting to burst out of young Linda, and before she knew it, she started finding means of expression. Her little trio with her siblings may not have gained worldwide recognition, but it was certainly the start of something great. Her early exposure, coupled with her early musical training, formed the foundation for her musical career that the world would later appreciate and celebrate. Anyone who listened to Linda Ronstadt could tell that she loved making music, but not many people knew that she spent several years training and preparing for the day when the spotlight would finally shine on her. She disliked the sex symbol tag. Being famous in the 1970s and 1980s brought numerous privileges, but also imposed certain expectations upon Linda, ones she didn't wish to embrace or align herself with. Throughout her career, Linda undeniably enriched the music industry, from her groundbreaking album Don't Cry Now to her rendition of You're No Good. Her songs provided solace to troubled minds across generations, and her lyrics held profound answers to life's questions for many. With a talent as remarkable as hers, she had no need to conform to the practices some other female stars engaged in solely for the sake of fame. Her desire was simple: to be cherished and admired for her music alone. However, it appeared that some of her fans and admirers saw something more in her. They perceived her as sexy. While many female stars in the 70s and 80s didn't mind being perceived as sex symbols, Linda had no interest in being sexually objectified. She aimed to be remembered for her skills and talents, not her physical appearance. In a 1980 interview with Playboy, she expressed her disinterest in becoming a sex symbol, stating, "I didn't set out to become a sex symbol. I set out to be a singer. I've never tried to exclude sexuality from my personality or my singing. It's amusing that people find me sexy." Despite her intentions, it was evident that some people saw her as a sex symbol. Unconventional career decisions. In the 70s, the pop queen decided to take Broadway by storm. Who would have thought? One thing that was true about the music legend was the fact that she wasn't afraid to swim in uncharted waters. She was drawn to the unconventional, and she found a way to thrive in areas that other musicians couldn't. She knew that she was highly gifted, and she was not afraid to stretch herself and broaden her horizon. So, at a time when many musicians were sticking to safe methods of making music, Linda decided to shake things up after dominating the music scene. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Instead of sticking to what she knew best, she took a daring detour into uncharted territories. And guess where she landed first? Broadway. In 1981, Linda took the stage in a production of the legendary Gilbert and Sullivan musical, The Pirates of Penzance. It started off Broadway like a hidden gem waiting to be discovered, but it didn't turn out exactly how people expected it to. While Linda gave it her all, some claimed the musical sound design was not ideal. Linda didn't just perform, she absolutely rocked it. Now, the production itself might have had a few hiccups here and there, but Linda, she shone like a supernova. Her fans didn't expect anything less because she always found a way to bloom wherever she was planted, plying dangerous zones. When she was called upon to perform, Linda didn't hold back. She showed up and entertained her fans even if it was right in the middle of apartheid-era South Africa. Back in the day, most musicians declined offers to perform in certain parts of the world for several reasons. One of these places was Sun City Resort and Casino. Interestingly, it was one of the most famous places at the time, but its location made it an extremely dangerous and risky place to be in. This was particularly because the resort was located in the heart of South Africa during the apartheid era. It was said that at the time, South Africa was at par with Nazi Germany on the issue of forced racial segregation, so performing in such a place could send mixed messages about the affiliations of the entertainer. But despite the complications that came with performing in this part of the world, Linda and other megastars like Rob Stewart and Dolly Parton performed at a concert there in the early 1980s. The fact that she showed up to perform despite all odds further proved how important music was to her. She reportedly got into trouble as a result of the performance, but the details about the outcome of the issue are still unclear, the real reason why she retired. In the year 2000, Linda came face to face with a singer's worst nightmare. It was then and there that her career flashed before her eyes. After decades of entertaining her fan and living up to her title as the Queen of Pop, Linda found herself trying to process a strange diagnosis. She had been told that she had Parkinson's disease, and while this explained the symptoms she was already having, the diagnosis came with a shocking realization that her career will never be the same again. It was a hard pill to swallow, but the singer was not going to go down without a fight. Despite her medical condition, she still tried to entertain her fans, but each passing year, it became more and more difficult for her to sing. Unfortunately, she got yet another heartbreaking diagnosis years later. She was told that she had supranuclear palsy. Sadly, this meant that she could no longer sing. No matter how hard she tried, she had no choice but to make a decision to retire. The former singer is currently reportedly living in San Francisco, and like many former Hollywood stars, she is living a quiet life away from the cameras. She may be away from the spotlight, but her impact is still felt. Her songs still take people back to a time when life was simpler. One thing is true, Hollywood is much different from how it was in the 80s, and the rift between Raquel Welch and Burt Reynolds serves as evidence of how much Hollywood has changed since the 80s.